the dumbest idea I've ever seen.
It's too stupid, it's dopey.
No! Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. What's up, everyone? I am the Kaiju no Kami from the Toku and Animation News Network, and I've got a very special review today. It is the first season to the 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon series. 40 years ago, two starving comic book artists became friends, and that is when magic happened. These men were Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. They came up with an idea that seems so dumb, so crazy, that no one would be able to take it seriously. Eastman drew himself a turtle and put nunchucks on his arm. Laird retorted with his own sketch of a ninja-based turtle. Eastman expanded the idea by drawing 4 turtles, all wielding different weapons. Laird came up with the name Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and a comic book was born. They unsuccessfully tried to sell the idea to publishers until they decided to take matters into their own hands and publish it themselves in Laird's own living room.
Mirage Studios really founded under the principle that it was a good name for what it was, a mirage. We actually didn't have a studio. Peter and his wife Janine were renting a house in Dover, New Hampshire. That's when I moved in, and so we used the living room as our studio.
They initially printed 3,000 copies of the book, which was done in black and white since they did not have the ability to color it. The comic was an instant hit. They ended up printing another 6,000 copies, which also sold out. Months later, Eastman and Laird decided to create a second issue to determine if their success was real or a fluke. Given we are still talking about this franchise, clearly they did have success on their hands, and the rest is history. What are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, though? They're turtles who are mutated into humanoid forms and practice ninjutsu and are teenagers. Duh! Eastman and Laird put a lot of influences from some of their favorite comic books, including Marvel's Daredevil. The turtles were mutated by some ooze material that may or may not be the same substance that blinded the young Matt Murdock. Given the turtles are children, their father figure is a rat who was also mutated into an anthropomorphic being named Splinter. Splinter originally belonged to a murdered martial artist. Several issues in, it is revealed this ooze is actually a byproduct of alien creatures stranded on Earth known as Utrams. The initial villains the turtles must contend with are a group of ninjas named the Foot, as opposed to Daredevil's The Hand. Their boss was named after a cheese grater,
the Shredder.
A kitchen utensil?
Pete's wife was an amazing cook. She'd cook us dinner, and we'd do dishes, and this particular night Pete was washing and I was drying, and there was one of those metal cheese graters, and I slid my hand up, decided to dry it inside, and I was holding onto the handle of the cheese grater like this. I'm like, wow, can you imagine a bad guy with one of these? He would literally shred your skin off. This would be great for our bad guy to have this, and Pete was like, yeah, we can call him the Shredder. And so the Shredder came from doing dishes. So it was the deal.
Not only did Shredder lead the American branch of the Foot Clan, but he was the one who killed Splinter's sensei Hamato Yoshi and his girlfriend. Shredder's brother, Nagi Oroku, was infatuated with the same woman Yoshi loved, and when she chose Yoshi, he tried to kill him. Yoshi ended up slaughtering Nagi in her defense, so young Saki vowed revenge. Wait, Nagi and Saki? So, Nagasaki? No shit. From there, the turtles defeat Shredder, killing him. You may actually be shocked to know that, despite becoming the main nemesis to the Turtles in future media, Shredder is only actually featured in like 4 issues of the comic's 62-book run. 3 years after the first issue dropped, a marketing licensor named Mark Friedman contacted Eastman and Laird with the idea of turning Ninja Turtles into a toy line. They loved the idea as long as they got to keep creative control over it, to which Friedman was perfectly fine with. Keeping up with the track record the creative duo had, it seemed like no one was interested in making toys for the series. Friedman's last-ditch effort was with a doll company from Hong Hong Kong that was really trying to get a foot into the American market called Playmates. They were interested, yet reluctant to do so without a cartoon available to help sell toys. Thus, a Disney employee named Fred Wolf was approached to turn the Turtles into a cartoon series, who was up to the challenge.
I assure you I can make a TV show out of anything.
The idea was to kick the series off with a 5-episode season just to test the waters. Multiple changes were made compared to the original comic they were based on, which made sense as the show was being sold to children, whereas the book was being written by its creators for its creators. Gone are the adult themes and noir-like elements, and in are cartoony tropes and fourth wall breaks.
Got to get to safety. We'll drown. Hey, what are we worrying about? We're turtles.
However, that doesn't make it bad, it just makes it different. But was it actually any good? I guess you'll just have to watch to find out. The Heroes! I think given its title, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's pretty self-explanatory as to who the heroes are. The Turtles are named after 4 of the most notable Renaissance painters: Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo. If you have ever looked at a piece of colored artwork from the original comics, you may notice that the Turtles all had red bandanas around their eyes. That is because with the comic being black and white, Eastman and Laird never considered audiences would have trouble identifying which turtle was which, especially because they themselves knew which one they were doing in each panel. This caused some discourse with Fred Wolf, as he felt children would be unable to recognize the turtle if they did not have their proper weapon in hand, and thus, Laird came up with the idea of just giving each one a different colored bandana. Leonardo became blue, Donatello was purple, Raph remained red, while Mikey took orange. Personalities were also further developed compared to the comics, where they all started out pretty serious. Raph was a hothead in the comics and remained that way in the show, even though they took away his alcoholic side.
I'd like to douse him with that mutagen and turn him into a mutant hamster.
Mikey is the party goer who loves to goof off unless the situation is extremely dire.
I'm not doing a thing till we eat some serious breakfast.
Donnie is the team's idiot savant, obsessed with creating whatever invention sparked his interest, be it repurposing a Volkswagen into the turtle van.
Here they come! Activate turtle launcher!
Cowabunga!
And creating a blimp.
Welcome aboard the turtle blimp. Does this thing actually work? Just watch.
Cowabunga!
He also invented the video call on a cell phone.
What is it, April?
I just saw Rocksteady and Bebop in the public library.
Leo is the leader of the group. Therefore, he always has to keep a clear head while being the most mature.
You and Raphael cut around to either side. Donatello, try to get to their rear.
And what will you do, Leonardo?
Well, somebody's got to take the middle. Attack!
I'd say Leo is my favorite of the 4. They all love to eat pizza and are constantly trying pizza with new flavors, no matter how gross it may sound.
Who wants cornflakes? I'm having Raisin Bran.
Choco Puffs for me!
What the hell is wrong with you? You might as well be eating that nasty-ass deep dish crap while you're at it. It was also imperative that the Turtles all have distinct voices to keep them lively, which included the likes of Cam Clark for Leo, Barry Gordon as Donnie, Rob Paulson was Raph, and Townsend Coleman provided Mikey's lovely tone. Some of you may know Cam Clark as the voice of Liquid Snake in Metal Gear Solid, Kaneda in the original English dub for Akira, and was He-Man in the 2002 series.
Splinter! I'll cut you down, Master!
Rob Paulson is widely known for Yakko and Pinky in Animaniacs.
What is it, Raphael? A threatening note? Worse than that. It's the check!
An interesting tidbit about Coleman is that he initially ad-libbed Mikey's Cowabunga catchphrase that became a sensational hit among fans of the show. Fred Wolf liked it so much he felt it should even become a mainstay.
Cowabunga! Cowabunga! Cowabunga!
He also voiced Sentinel Prime in Transformers Animated. Meanwhile, Gordon had actually run for Congress in 1998 but lost to his Republican opponent.
Looking for Baxter Stockman, by the sewers, and no. Does that clear things up?
Splinter's origins were changed in the cartoon compared to the comics. Instead of being a rat owned by Hamato Yoshi, Splinter is Yoshi. The story behind this is Yoshi was tricked into disgrace by Shredder back in Japan and exiled to America.
Bow before our beloved master.
One day, he came across 4 baby turtles covered in some weird ooze, and when he touched them, they became human-like because the ooze mutates any life form it comes into contact with into those they last touched.
The turtles started becoming human. Had most recently been with Yoshi.
As for Yoshi, because he had just been hanging out with some rats, he transformed into a rat man.
Then Hamato Yoshi is you!
You got a mind like a steel trap, lady.
Hey, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. If you look here, he touches the turtles, so therefore, shouldn't he have turned into a turtle man?
But Yoshi had most recently been with the rats. It caused whoever touched it to take on the form of whatever animal they had most recently been in contact with. But Yoshi had most recently been with the rats. They had most recently been in contact with.
Anyway, Splinter's job is pretty much the same as it was in the comics, to be a mentor and father figure to the Turtles. He trains them in martial arts to be able to defend the city from the Foot, which is now under the command of Shredder. Splinter is voiced by Peter Renaday, who was in the Hanna-Barbera Ultraman cartoon, Grapple in the original Transformers series, and was Marcus Phoenix's dad in Gears of War 3.
So, Orokusaki, you're reduced to sending machines after me.
Given the Turtles and Splinter live beneath the sewers of New York, they don't really know much about the human world because, well, humans are fickle little buggers. As such, things take a turn for the best when they make friends with a woman named April O'Neil. In the original comics, April was an oddball character because in her premiere issue, she is a lab assistant for a crazed scientist named Baxter Stockman who tries to kill her for learning his true goal. She meets the Turtles and becomes their exposition dump for humanity. Conversely, she never really seemed to hold a job in the comics after she is technically fired from her position. She must have had one hell of a severance package. For the cartoon, Fred Wolf and gang felt April would fit better as a reporter because they could write her like their own version of Lois Lane from Superman. It would also allow her to broadcast news over television of things happening around the city the Turtles might want to investigate when she isn't able to contact them directly. It was an interesting idea and makes sense. Unfortunately, for being a very gung-ho character, April also finds herself in danger more often than not. I do love her enthusiasm though. At the start of the series, she is doing a report about an increase in crime. Although, saying there's crime in New York is like saying the sky is blue or water will get you wet. It's a no shit Sherlock moment. Why else would a granny have a machine gun hidden away in her shopping cart?
One twitch in your history, scum! Now back off!
Anyway, a bunch of gangsters emerge on the scene, threatening them, and April's crew just runs off on her, leaving her for dead.
I think I left the iron on in my apartment.
Yeah, I just remembered roller derby's on TV tonight.
Oh, and I got an appointment with my dentist.
Even her boss, Burns, seems to care very little about her as seen here.
This story's heating up, and I have to lose my second best reporter.
April wasn't your second best reporter.
Well, third best. Maybe.
April flees into the sewers and responds with this.
This is great! I must really be onto something hot if they're trying to kill me!
Probably not something she should be proud of, but I do give her credit for being excited. Also have to wonder what she's really into when that excites her. Interesting kinks going on here. When all looks grim, she is rescued by the Turtles. Don't cheer for this, however, as the Turtles state this.
You're staying here until we work this out.
She stays here with us for the rest of her life.
Our heroes, everyone.
Heroes in a half shell.
Yeah, not exactly heroic. I mean, I get why they would be afraid of what she could do knowing they exist, but this seems to be something people gloss over whenever they talk about this show. She finally comes up with an agreement to get the Turtles to let her go and apparently develops Stockholm Syndrome in the process because she wants to continue being friends with them despite their threats to keep her as their prisoner until the day she dies.
Heroes in a half shell.
Huh. Now there's an interesting what-if story. Moving on, she helps the Turtles acquire disguises and as I said, becomes their liaison to the city.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Well, it's a slight improvement.
Renee Jacobs provides her talents for our damsel in distress in a banana suit.
Could we interest you in a subscription to Turtles Home Companion?
Oh no! What are you guys doing here? How did you get here? Did anyone see you come in?
While we do get to meet April's boss and a co-worker, there's not much character development for them. Byrne is pretty much the J. Jonah Jameson of the show, demanding proof that the Turtles are up to no good and likes to blame them for everything strange going on around town.
4 green maniacs are running loose in this town, and you haven't brought me diddly squat!
They're on our side. Listen, I've been with them for the past week.
You're in cahoots with those things?
Vernon is just an asshole that cares more about looking good than someone's well-being.
She's been gone almost a day.
Well, it's not like she was irreplaceable or anything.
What on earth? asshole!
The last batch of allies for our main heroes are a trio of teenagers from another dimension known as the Neutrinos. Bibbidi, Bobbidi, and Boo find themselves being chased by evil soldiers and befriend the turtles.
All the grown-ups ever do is fight! Us neutrinos are the only ones who like having fun, and most of the time the grown-ups won't let us!
They dress funky as if the 70s threw up on what was perceived to be clothing from the future at the time, and talk hip.
Man, oh man, this is the swingin'est! We didn't think you cats knew how to have fun!
Yeah, we thought this was a Planet of the Squares, man!
They apparently don't like war and try to remain neutral on that front in the war-torn Dimension X. Oh! Neutral! Neutrinos! I get it! Thankfully, they're only featured in one episode before going back, as I cannot stand them. Their voices are so freaking annoying and sound like the elves from the Polar Express.
Dead cats! One minute we're having a blast in Dimension X, then suddenly we're in a room with some weirdo in a metal mask.
Cool! Daddy-o, we are frozen! You don't know what it's like. Living in a place where everybody wants to do you in, just for the crime of being young.
What are they thinking down there? Are they Meshuggah? What's the rowdy?
Going to the States. Grand Rapids.
They're easily the worst part of this 5-episode premiere. The villains. We've got Shredder, the Foot, mutants, aliens from another dimension, and a crazed scientist. Need I say more? When the show kicks off, we find out the crime wave that is going on is all because of Shredder. He is collecting a variety of tech to help bring an army of soldiers from Dimension X to Earth in the hopes of conquering it. Assisting him is an Ultram-looking critter named Krang. Or we can go with Mikey's description, as that works too.
It was this humongous brain! And it had a mouth and eyes, and it talked to me!
A talking brain, huh?
Yeah!
Krang was the former ruler of Dimension X until he was exiled to ours due to how tyrannical he was. Shredder is promised to give him a new body, which ends up being this giant goofy looking robotic suit.
Success! I must contact my loyal soldiers in Dimension X.
Yep. It was definitely the 80s. Their base of operations is a giant mobile tank with an eyeball on top called the Technodrome. It takes Shredder a while to fulfill his promise with Krang as he ends up being distracted by the Turtles interfering with his plans. It is also revealed that Shredder was the one responsible for the ooze that mutated the Reptilian Quartet in this version.
It was I who caused you to mutate into your humanoid form. You owe everything to me. Don't deny your destiny.
Additionally, because network standards could not allow the Turtles to slaughter countless people as they did in the comics, the Foot Clan soldiers were now robots created using Krang's technology.
Show him some moves, Donatello!
As such, the Foot Soldiers are nothing but brainless dolts with no personalities whatsoever. They don't even make noises when they are in the midst of battle. Shredder is performed by the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air's James Avery, who became the definitive voice whenever people think of Shredder.
You would be wise to lose your flippant ways if you wish to join the Honorable Foot Clan.
Why should we want to do that?
Because it was I who made you what you are today.
Avery provides a shred of threat in his tone, but is often written a tad silly to the point where he feels more cartoony than villain.
Ah, it feels so good to be so bad. But I don't want to conquer this place. I want to conquer Earth!
Pat Fraley's Krang is interesting because he can easily change Krang's inflections on the fly to reflect his mood and sarcastic nature, while also sounding gross at the exact same time.
I hope you fail again, and again, and keep failing, until at last you have no choice but to give me a body!
Shredder turns two of his goons into mutants, creating the Warthog, Bebop, and Rhino Rocksteady, aptly voiced by Gordon and Clark.
Hey, what do you mean? You just give us another shot, pal, and you'll see some squished turtles.
The concept around them pits mutants against mutants, though Bebop and Rocksteady are as bright as coal. If you have seen this series, you know how their characters devolve into comic relief bullies, but for the first season, they do come off as a credible threat when they are focused on their main objective.
Say your prayers, turtles.
Also, their language.
Oh, wow!
You little bimbo.
Did he just call her a bimbo?
You little bimbo.
Krang's soldiers waiting to invade the Earth are humanoid rocks with two generals being Trag and Granitor. There's nothing special about them, but they are a neat idea.
Rock lords, rocks come alive. Rock lords, fighting to survive.
The final villain of the series is the aforementioned Baxter Stockman, also voiced by Fraley.
The rat will follow its nose to the cheese at the end of the maze. Now, watch how my mouser follows its nose to the rat.
For being a genius, Baxter is a frickin' moron. Baxter only appeared in issue 2 and nearly took out April and the Turtles with his army of rat hunters known as Mousers. He was maniacal and devious. Here, Baxter is a nincompoop who couldn't find his brain if he was sitting on it. I guess the whitewashing of Baxter really took out his common sense.
So, do you think Ajax Pest Control would be interested in my invention?
Well, to put it in a single word, get out of here!
He stupidly sells his Mousers off to Shredder and is an utter coward.
I'll never talk.
You'd better, or else I'm gonna get sarcastic.
He's in an old mansion on Green Street near 10th. He's got a master control for all the Mousers there.
The animation and music. For being 1987, the animation's not too bad. It definitely benefits from only being 5 episodes in length, as it allowed the animators to give it their all. There are still animation errors from time to time, the wrong turtle talking,
Ain't you up on current events, lady? We just saved your life.
and color changes in the midst of a single scene.
Say we redecorated the place nicely. Place nicely.
Nevertheless, the details are stellar, especially shots done at night.
How are we gonna get down there?
Like this.
I love how April's outfit has brownish highlights on it compared to later seasons where it will just be all the same shade of yellow. One scene that really stands out for me is the beginning of the 4th episode when we get to see the city upside down, leaving you pondering if that is an error, before it shows us that it is actually the reflection from a puddle. Another sequence that sticks out is when the foot soldiers are firing their laser guns at the turtles, but we actually hear the sounds of real bullets. The 80s was a great time for opening theme songs. They were always very elaborate and catchy in a similar fashion to Japanese openings compared to today, where we're lucky if we get a 30-second one. The opening theme to Ninja Turtles was composed by Chuck Lorre and Dennis Challen Brown.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Splinter taught them to be Ninja Teen.
Lorre is recognized today for being the creator of The Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men. They ended up working on the theme song overnight, with the final recording taking about an hour. Lorre is also the one who speaks the turtle dialogue during the song.
World's most fearsome fighting team.
We're really hip.
They're heroes in the half shell and they're green.
Hey, get a grip.
Brown scored the rest of the show in its entirety, and the music is pretty good for the most part. There's a couple of tracks I enjoy. The ending theme is just a lyric-less remix of the opening. The episodes. As a whole, it's a solid season. David Wise was hired to write the show because he was already a fan of the comics, and they knew someone who was invested in the source material would be perfect to bring their project to fruition. Well, that's certainly different from today. Today's studios don't care about the original source material and want someone who knows nothing about it to completely wreck the product to create something original. Wise decided to write an overarching narrative across all 5 episodes before writing the scripts for each one. Each episode would still be its own self-contained story that builds into something greater, providing a grandiose finale. For being aimed at children, there were still a bit of mature aspects to the overall narrative, which is pretty nice. I do like how there is a bit of plot development as the season progresses, perhaps the most story this show will ever contain. My favorite episode is the final part, Shredder and Splintered. Not only was it exciting to see how everything ends, but we also get some enjoyable moments, such as Shredder reenacting Frankenstein while he brings Krang's body to life.
It's alive! It's alive!
We get a showdown between Splinter and Shredder that feels very akin to Star Wars.
You have corrupted my teaching. You have brought dishonor upon the noble Foot Clan. Now you will pay for your crimes.
And Krang ends up becoming essentially a kaiju. Overall, it's pretty fun. Alternatively, the episode before it is my least favorite, and that's because it is the episode that introduced the neutrinos. Hot, rotting teenagers from Dimension X is so dumb, but it does have a few good moments. Shredder opens Krang's dimensional portal from inside the Technodrome because that's apparently a thing, and out comes the neutrinos being chased by Trag and Grenitor.
After all, not so fast.
One of my favorite scenes is when the military is firing at the Rock Lords in the city.
The bullets aren't stopping them.
You know, just once I'd like to meet an alien menace that wasn't immune to bullets.
It also has the opening sequence I mentioned earlier in the puddle. Nevertheless, I really disliked the neutrinos, and them taking up half of the screen time was quite annoying. For being a first attempt at a cartoon adaptation of Ninja Turtles, Fred Wolf and his company did a pretty good job. As such, I am happy to give the first season to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles a solid 4 out of 4 turtles cosplaying as ninjas. There are some frustrating moments, but the show had enough grit to sell audiences on its concept. I do look forward to seeing what future seasons have to offer. Until next time, bye!
What was stolen?
2 positron accelerators, 4 reverse flux polarity indicators, and 1 parabolic sine wave generator.
And what does all that equipment do?
I have absolutely no idea.